guys. All right, so this is going to be the first of many videos that I film. Well, actually, I don't know if they're all going to be videos or if I'm going to switch over to a podcast format, but for now, we're doing videos. And so this is going to be the first of many topics that I will cover under the umbrella of becoming trauma informed in dance spaces and exploring all of the different ways that mental health can be applied to the work that we do. And how being trauma informed could be beneficial. So first of all, what does it mean for a studio to be trauma informed? So essentially what that means is that, we as dance studio owners or coaches, choreographers, instructors are all mindful of the fact that each of the dancers we work with come into our dance spaces having lived their own individual lives. And so what that means is that they come into the spaces with the individualized experiences that they've had, whether positive or negative, with the way that they see themselves for themselves, the way that they see themselves in the world, the way that they conceptualize the challenges that they have. All of these things are a part of what makes up a person, right? We all have our unique stories and experiences, and how that impacts the way that we show up in the world. And so being trauma informed is being knowledgeable of the fact that every dancer that walks into your studio has their individual stories, and has their individual experiences, some good and some bad, and that may shape how they show up, how they present. And the overall benefit of that is that by being knowledgeable of that, it's a win-win because you keep your dancers safe, and you also are able to allow your dancer to be able to thrive in that environment in a way that is safe for them. So everybody is safe and everyone benefits because your dancers are stronger for it, they're healthier for it, and you as a dance owner or coach or whatever are able to allow them to really lean into their artistry in a very safe way. And so we're going to talk about all the different benefits of a dance space being trauma informed, okay? And if you see me looking off to the right, I don't know if I said it already, but if you see me looking off to the right, it's just because I'm referencing my notes, okay? So give me grace. And also, if you see me looking around a little bit, it's kind of hard to film on this iPad. I don't really know where to look, so give me grace for that too. All right, so the emotional and psychological benefits of being a trauma-informed dance space, first and foremost, is that you allow your dancers to feel physically and emotionally safe. And so they know that when they are in that space, that no harm will come to them. No harm will come to them intentionally. Like, accidents happen, things happen, but the difference in that is that they can trust that the instructors, that the directors and people in power will know how to respond to these things in ways that are appropriate and safe. And so it allows these students to, feel like they are emotionally supported. If certain emotions come up for them during rehearsals, in preparation for performances, during classes, they know that they will have the opportunity at some point to talk about it with their coach or with the director and feel safe and feel like they are being heard and that they are being emotionally supported and that their emotions are not bad and not something that needs to be tucked away, or something that are, the emotions are not something that is bringing up frustration in the dance instructor, right? They're being supported. And this is also not to say that dance instructors are expected to stop classes and, hold space for dancers when they're having a hard time. It's not saying that you all need to be therapists, but it is saying being aware, right? So like recognizing if one of your dancers in class or in rehearsal appears to be having a hard time, and then after the class, checking in with them to see if they're okay, checking in to see if there's something that you can support them with, allowing them space to kind of talk about what it is that they're feeling, and then helping them to be directed in the way that can, if they need further support. So if that looks like talking to a parent about what's going on, if it is young students, or maybe helping the older student consider, the resources that are in the community. I think every dance studio should also have a binder of resources in the community in terms of things that dancers can use to stay safe. So, for example, I've had dancers who have expressed being in domestically violent households. And so they would come and they say, I really love to dance, but when I leave here, this is my only safe space, because when I leave here, my partner is very abusive and my partner is very controlling, and, I don't have the freedom that I have here. And so I was able to support that student in a very limited way. She had to ultimately make the decision that she wanted to make. But I was able to hold space for her, hear her, affirm her, talk to her about what it was that she was experiencing, and be prepared if she was interested in resources. So, being able to say, hey, there are these resources in the local community that are here for individuals who are experiencing domestic violence, or, who are here for individuals who are struggling with body dysmorphia, or, eating disorder, or any of these things that we tend to see in dance spaces, right? Because we're dealing with people. So dancers will be able to feel emotionally and physically supported. They'll be able to feel like they can lean into their artistry without those things being compromised, because they will be allowed to bring their full self to the dance space. So in therapy, we have an approach called IFS, which is internal family systems, which I love, and essentially is parts work. And in parts work, we talk about all of the parts of you being welcomed. You can bring all of those parts with you. You don't have to walk into a dance space and feel like you got to leave a certain part of you behind because it doesn't fit. No, we want you to come into this space as a fully integrated person. We want to allow for you to lean into being fully integrated through the dance and through creative expression, movement expression, and all of these things, expressive arts. You want to be able to support that. We want to allow students to know that all of their parts are welcome and to be embraced, because they all, are part of what makes that person an artist and a human, and all of their stories and experiences help to deepen the impact, I think, and the connection, the emotional connection that they have with their audience when they do perform. So another reason would be that well, I kind of touched on this, but it builds the trust between the student and the instructor, because they know, again, I can go to this instructor. I know that my coach will listen. I know that, I can talk to the choreographer about maybe something that's coming up for me during a certain move, and maybe we can talk about how that makes me feel and maybe what I can do differently to help me feel a little bit more safe when I'm doing that move, right? So these are just examples of what that would look like. The benefits of Another benefit is that you decrease the chances of re-traumatization. So again, we have students that are coming in with their own individual experiences, and sometimes those experiences are negative. And so they are carrying with them some trauma. And we want to be mindful of the fact that our behavior and the way that we run those dance spaces can absolutely allow for individuals to be re-traumatized. So I'll give you an example. Say you have a student who grew up in a household with a parent who is very critical of their body, do a lot of body shaming. And then they come into the dance studio and they're dancing, and they have an instructor who is pointing out flaws in their body, or pointing out, your body is not able to do this move properly. Why can't you coordinate your body? Why do your feet look like that? Why are you holding your hands like that? Why do you shrink yourself like that? And being hypercritical. And so you would then be re-traumatizing that student, which would likely allow for them or cause them to shut down and to not feel safe in that space, because you are triggering and bringing up that trauma that they already experienced in their outside life. But now you're bringing it into their dance spaces where they hope to be able to express themselves in ways that are free and safe. And so again, we don't have to predict everything that our students are coming into the dance space with, but we want to be mindful of and observant of any shifts in our dancers, or any ways that maybe they're not responding to us in healthy and positive ways, or if we're noticing something, if our student says something casually that's like, oh, wait a minute, that raises a red flag, maybe that's something I need to kind of ask a couple of questions about with the student to learn a little bit more about, and maybe not have all the answers, but at the very least show that I am interested in knowing, and that I do care to understand what my student is experiencing, right? So the next one is it supports mental health and emotional regulation. So of course, if it allows for the student to become healthier in their mental health, because they have a space where it is supported, their joy is supported, their expression is supported. They are not made to feel bad about themselves. They are not, held in pain points. emotional pain points. I know that some choreographers will want to pull pain out of you for the sake of a dance piece, or want to pull anger out of you. And there are ways to do that without triggering your students, basically. There are ways, and it's not authentic when you're pulling it out of them in unhealthy ways. You want to allow for them to develop a connection to that part of them that allows for them to feel confident enough to put that in their dance expression, which would then impact their presence on stage. It's good stuff when it's organic. It has to be organic. You don't want to force it out of them in a way that feels superficial and unsafe for that student. And so, if you have this space where you are supporting their mental health, where you are encouraging a trauma-informed environment, which, you have your other students, everyone is mindful that that is something that's important in this dance space, and that is something that's supported, then everybody benefits, because everyone is able to be their full selves and, lean into, healthy mental health, as opposed to, patterns that would encourage mental illness or exacerbate symptoms of mental illness or anything like that. So, in emotional regulation, the emotions are going to be a part of the process, right? Like fear is a part of the process. Sadness can be a part of the process. Anger can be a part of the process, because these are natural emotions, and emotions aren't inherently bad. It's how we express those emotions that could potentially be problematic. And so we want to be able to encourage our dancers to understand that when these emotions come up in you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to react in the ways that you have in the past. So, for example, for me, I can be a very angry person. And a lot of people don't believe it, because I know I come across as bubbly and happy. But I tell them all the time, that's the side that you see of me, because I feel safe enough to be that here. But in places where I don't feel safe, I am angry. And the way that I have always expressed my anger is through violence. Like, I was a fighter growing up. I was knocking people's heads off. Like, I was a fighter. And so I can't use that type of anger and aggression in a dance space. It ain't gonna work. Trust me, I tried sports when I was a kid. They was putting me off the sports teams left and right because I was knocking the other little girls over. So they kicked me off the basketball team. You know what I mean? So, like, it wasn't a healthy way for me to express that emotion. I can't go into it with anger of wanting to knock everybody out. I have to find a healthier way to regulate that emotion and then apply it to what I'm doing in a way that allows me to feel like I'm expressing it, but I'm expressing it in a healthy way, which in turn would make me feel more in control of my emotions. It would make me feel more confident in myself, in my body, my physical body, as well as my emotional body. Okay, I know I talk a lot. I'm going to try to speed this up. All right, so physical, of course, it just allows for a healthy body-mind connection, especially with trauma. People who have experienced trauma, they can feel very disconnected from their body, feel very numb to their body, not aware of the needs of their body, not aware of the signals that their body is showing them, maybe pain, certain things. And so when you allow for, when you are trauma informed and maybe talking about these things and supporting these things in your dance spaces, it could help your client, Lord, I'm in my therapist's head now. It could help your student feel, okay, again, this is a safe space. Maybe I don't then have to be so disconnected from my body, because it doesn't feel like I'm in a space where I need to have my guard up. So maybe I can let myself feel a little bit. And maybe I need to be able to feel to further my dancing in the ways that I want to. So let me explore that. I feel safe enough to be able to explore that. What does this feel like in my body? What does this movement feel like in my body? How does it feel? Oh, I'll never forget. I took a dance class, and the instructor had us just breathing. We were doing breath work, and like everyone was crying. We were just doing breath work. We were just listening to the music and breathing, and everybody experienced strong emotions coming up, and everybody was crying, because they felt safe in that space to let those emotions flow. And it was an amazing experience to see, and one that I will never forget, because, prior to that, we didn't really know each other, and we didn't really, we were just there to take a class, and we were able, at the end of that, we connected in such an awesome way, because we were able to be vulnerable, because we felt safe in the hands of that instructor, but also among the rest of the student body. It increases body sovereignty and consent, which is very important, especially in the AfroLatin dance community. We talk about this all the time. You know, we've had a lot of people come out about their experiences, which is infuriating. And so, you know, again, you know, part of the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to lend my expertise and also experiences to the conversation. So consent is very important. People need to be able to feel in control of their body. They need to be able to have bodily autonomy. They need to know that they do not have to agree to things that they don't feel comfortable with. And they need to know that they are safe and supported if they want to put up boundaries because they don't feel safe or comfortable with something. Nobody, no dancer, male, female, you know, whatever, whoever, however they show up, however they identify, nobody should be made to feel that they have to compromise their comfort or their safety for the sake of a dance move or for the sake of a dance, a social dance, a performance, whatever. Like, okay, I know that, you know, with performances and stuff, sometimes you have to push yourself past pain points, but these are like healthy, you know, like healthy pain points. Like, okay, it feels uncomfortable for me to be on my toes this long, but I have to build strength around that. That's different. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, you know, things that feel unsafe. I feel like someone's going to harm me, even if I know that I'm not in a place where someone is going to harm me, because this environment doesn't feel safe for me. I'm still having that emotional response to it. I still feel like I need to have my guard up. I don't feel in control of my body, and I don't feel empowered enough to tell someone no. And so that's a very important part of the work that we do, is making sure that our students know, you know, you have bodily autonomy. You have a right to establish any boundaries that you need to. Nobody has the right to touch you in any way that's inappropriate. I'll never forget also, too, I took my little sister to a dance congress. She always laughs at me when I bring this up. But I took her to a dance congress when she was a teenager, and there was a friend of mine, a male friend of mine, who I thought was the sweetest guy. I thought he was like the safest guy to have my sister dance with. And it was a bachata dance that she danced with him. And the way this man was like contorting my sister's body in ways that felt so uncomfortable, you know, and you know, so we had to have a conversation about it, you know, after we were like, okay, chill. We had to have a conversation about it. And I talk to her all the time, like, you know, when someone makes you feel uncomfortable, you do not have to allow it. It is not a necessary part of the dance, especially with dances like bachata. You don't have to let these people bend you and contort your body in ways that don't feel safe or comfortable for you. You don't have to just allow that. You can step away from the dance if it doesn't feel comfortable or safe to you. I remember I had a guy one time when I was just learning how to dance bachata, and I was at a congress, and this man, guys, oh, I'll never forget. He was so sweaty. And when we were dancing, he kept pressing my forehead to his forehead. And he was staring in my eyes with his forehead to my forehead, dancing. And I kept trying to pull my head away, and he would grab my head and put it back on his forehead. Sweaty, nasty forehead. And I thought I had to stay in that position because this was what was supposed to be occurring during the dance. I didn't know that I could, you know, say, listen, this is not comfortable for me. I don't like this. I felt I have to just suffer through it until the dance is over because, you know, this is what the dance looks like. It's sensual, and maybe this is an expression of the sensuality. So, you know, we have, I'm sure, many of us, if not all of us, have these experiences of being uncomfortable, you know, and it's just important that we know, and it's important that we inform our students, especially those that are just coming into the scene, so that they never have to have those experiences that we've had to have after experiencing, well, we've had to, you know, become knowledgeable after having experienced those things, right? We don't want them to have to go through the same things that we did. And we don't want to communicate to these people who don't respect bodily autonomy and boundaries. We don't want them to think that they could thrive in these environments. We want them to know that we are, you know, holding our attention to this, and we are consistently affirming safety, and which I see a lot of studios doing, which I love to see. We need to know that this is not a safe space for them. This is not a safe space for predatory behavior. You are not welcome here. You will not harm our students. So I love to see it. I want to see more of it. And this is, you know, just kind of talking about that a little bit. What else? So it encourages and enhances creative expression. I kind of touched on it a little bit. You know, students are able to dig a little bit deeper, you know, in their bodily expression, because again, they feel safer to be able to experience, you know, sensations in the body, emotions that come up with their dance. And so we all benefit from that because they become more well-rounded, I need to slow down, I talk fast, more well-rounded dancers because they feel safe enough to just completely be present in their bodies and express that however it comes up, and it doesn't feel overwhelming or unsafe for them. It improves retention and engagement. Y'all gotta know this. You know, there are experiences that sometimes, you know, dance professionals have where their students will just fall back or stop coming, and they don't understand why students are no longer coming and supporting them. And sometimes it has to do with the fact that they didn't feel safe in your class, or sometimes it has to do with the fact that the way that you spoke to them made them feel really uncomfortable and ashamed of themselves, or, you know, angry or fearful or whatever, and so they didn't respond well to your teaching style because it was too aggressive or whatever the case may be. It doesn't benefit, again, anybody for that to occur. I don't even know if I'm looking in the right way. It doesn't benefit anybody for that to occur because the dancer will not be able to continue their dance journey. The teacher will lose students, so that, you know, their money being impacted. The community as a whole will lose a potential contribution, someone who adds value to the community, because that person didn't feel safe and ended up leaving because their experience and their introduction to the dance through their teacher was not positive. They felt, you know, criticized, demeaned in ways that are not healthy. So it doesn't help with student retention, and that is very important for businesses, right? At the end of the day, if you're a business, you want to be able to maintain retention and grow, you know, your student base. So something to be mindful of. It builds an inclusive and equitable community. Again, everybody feels safe, everyone feels supported, and so people will be able to build friendships and relationships off of that healthy dynamic that's established in the studio. And they will also, again, know that bad behavior will not be excused, will not be overlooked. And so it's not something that will be present. And because it's not present, again, people will feel safe enough to engage in ways that maybe they wouldn't otherwise, right? It empowers leadership and role modeling. So it shows them what it means to be a leader in a healthy way. It shows them that you don't have to criticize your student's body, and you don't have to make your student feel worthless or make your student feel like they're a piece of crap, you know, and that they have to earn the dance. They don't deserve the dance. They're not worthy of the dance. They got to earn their right on the stage. I know a lot of places feel that way, and I know it's not always negative. I'm not saying it is, but when it is expressed in ways that are negative and make people feel that they are not good enough, they are not worthy, they can never reach this level, you know, you're showing them that to be a leader in your spaces means that you have to be a bully and that you have to make people feel small. And nobody wants to experience that. Nobody is going to thrive and flourish off of that. And even if they're able to perform well and deliver, they're still not in a healthy space, and likely will decrease the longevity of them being dancers and being able to contribute to the community because they feel so broke down. They feel so shameful, and they internalize the criticism that they received in ways that are unhealthy because it wasn't delivered in a healthy way. So you want to be able to show them and model to them that leadership doesn't include those things. And if it does include criticism, it's in a healthy way. It's in a positive and a safe way. It's in a constructive way, right? Maybe it's in a private way where you're not publicly humiliating your dancer. So you want to model that leadership, because those students may then go on to become leaders themselves. And so that's how it continues. That's how we pay it forward. You know, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You show your student what a leader is. Your student then becomes a leader and models it to their students. And that's how we turn things around in the community. That's how we kind of maintain the community, because the things that we are struggling with right now are putting holes in the community, and it is a threat to the well-being of the community. So this is how we build that back up. So that's what I have for you guys. I know it's a lot. I'm long-winded. I'll work on being shorter. I'm sorry, but these are the main reasons why I believe it is important for dance studios and dance spaces to be trauma informed. I hope that you found this informative. If you have any further questions for me, I'd love to be a resource. You can definitely reach out to me on my Instagram at Anuga Dance or at Anuga Dance. With any questions, any comments, any concerns, need for resources, anything at all, I'm available to you. All right. I would be happy to be a support to you, any of you in the dance community. So thanks for watching, and I'll try to be more concise next time. But I'm very glad that you took the time to sit with me and to hear me out. Okay. Be well.